हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम। आज हम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन डिस्कस करने वाले हैं। व्हाट इज कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन क्या होता है? किसी भी कंट्री को रन करने के लिए कुछ प्रिंसिपल और लॉ की ज़रूरत होती है। तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन भी एक पॉलिटिकल फ्रेम है, ओके, based on which principle or laws of the country is formulated. Okay, so in this way, we can simply define constitution as constitution is the fundamental and organic law of the nation that establishes the conception, character, and organization of government. So, in case of uh, Constitution of India, it is a living document. How can you say that? क्योंकि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया का मोर देन 100 अमेंडमेंट हो चुके हैं, तो वो टाइम के अनुसार अपने आप को चेंज करता रहता है। सो वी कैन से इट इज ए लिविंग डॉक्यूमेंट। और नेक्स्ट वर्ड कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का क्या होता है? इट इस्टेब्लिशेस द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट। कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया को इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन होती है, और ये स्टेब्लिशेस भी कौन करता है? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया करता है। नेक्स्ट कैरेक्टर, इट डिफाइन द कैरेक्टर ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट। व्हाट इज द नेचर ऑफ एनी कंट्रीज गवर्नमेंट इज डिस्कस्ड बाय कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया। हाउ वी assume our country as a secular nation? Because in our constitution it is written that India is a secular country. But in case of any religious country, in their constitution it is mentioned that it is tilted to any specific religion. Okay, next है, तो हम इन सब को डिटरमाइन करते हुए अच्छे से इसे डिफाइन कर सकते हैं कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज ए फंडामेंटल एंड द ऑर्गेनिक लॉ ऑफ द नेशन दैट establishes conception, characters, and organization of the government. It also determines the extent of power of the government and the manner these powers are to be used. In short, constitution is the rule book of the country. Okay, constitution is the supreme law, and all other laws and customs in order to valid shall confer to the constitution. What is custom? कस्टम किसे बोलते हैं? जो कि जैसे कि अगर आपके घर में आ, कोई मेहमान आता है, यू आस्क फॉर वाटर। इन केस ऑफ व्हेन क्रिसमस केम, यू डेकोरेट योर होम एंड क्रिसमस ट्री बनाते हो। क्यों करते हो ऐसा? बिकॉज इट इज़ एक्सपेक्टेड टू यू। सबको ये सबसे ज़्यादा एक्सपेक्टेड है, उसे हम कस्टम कहते हैं। पर क्या कस्टम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इंडिया को डिफाइन कर सकती है? नहीं। कस्टम को लीगल होने के लिए उसे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया को कंफर्म करना पड़ेगा। ओके, देयर इज अ केस ऑफ सबरीमाला वेयर द गर्ल ऑफ एज of 15 to 55 are not allowed to enter into the temple. It is their custom. It may be correct or wrong, I don't know, but it is legally incorrect. Why? Because it violates the right against discrimination. Okay, how can you discriminate any people? Okay, so इस किसी भी कस्टम या लॉ को वैलिड होने के लिए, लीगली वैलिड होने के लिए उसे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को कंफर्म करना पड़ता है। और कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन जैसे बहुत सारे लॉज हैं, एमजी नरेगा, सेक्शन आईपीसी, सीआरपीसी, ये सब भी वैलिड तब है जब वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया को कन्फर करता है। नेक्स्ट, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन हैज ए स्पेशल लीगल सैंक्टिटी, सो इट इज अ सेक्रेट बुक, यू कैन से। क्यों? Why it is a sacred book? Because it is the basic law of the country, and it derives its power from people directly. Who made the Constitution of India? We the people. Constitution Assembly ने Constitution को बनाया on behalf of us, on behalf of people of India. Okay. Constitution also regulates the relation between people and the government. वो रेस्ट्रिक्ट भी करती है गवर्नमेंट के पावर को किसी भी इंडिविजुअल के पावर को एक्सप्लॉयट करने के लिए, और कभी कभी पीपल को भी पीपल को भी पीपल को भी एक्स्ट्रा पावर नहीं देता ताकि कोई एक पीपल दूसरे पीपल को एक्सप्लॉयट ना कर सके. ओके, सो इट regulates the relation between people and the government. Next is constitutionalism. What is constitutionalism? Constitutionalism जो है उसे हम लिमिटेड गवर्नमेंट भी कह सकते हैं, और इसके अपोजिट एक और टर्म है दैट इज अनलिमिटेड गवर्नमेंट. इन केस ऑफ नॉर्थ कोरिया एंड लिबिया दैट इज गद्दाफी देयर, वहाँ पे अनलिमिटेड गवर्नमेंट है. यू कैन से इन वन टर्म हाउ, बिकॉज वहाँ पे नॉर्थ कोरिया में किंग जोंग उन डिसाइड करता है व्हाट विल बी द लॉ. But in case of India, it is not decided by any people and even not a group of people, but Constitution of India decide what should be the law. Right? Unlimited government is one which concentrate power in a few hands, which leads to corruption, violation of human rights, and encroachment on the liberty of common people. But it is completely opposite in case of constitutionalism or limited government, because constitutionalism means, or a limited government means, a system with a limited government. Simple, means that is the government set up whose power are not arbitrary or unrestricted. That is a system having limited government. Means there is something which can रेस्ट्रिक्ट एक्सट्रीमिज्म, वो किसी भी लॉ को एक्सप्लॉयटेटिव या अनरेगुलेट होने से बचाता है. इन केस ऑफ इंडिया इट इज़ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. इन केस ऑफ मैनी कंट्री इट इज़ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन विच रेगुलेट्स exploitative nature of any government. Okay, next term is objective resolution. पर इससे पहले हम डिमांड फॉर द कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली के बारे में थोड़ा सा डिस्कस करेंगे. कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली का डिमांड 1934 में एम.एन. रॉय द्वारा रखा गया था. ही वॉज द पियोनियर ऑफ कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी इन इंडिया. और उसके बाद in 1938 जवाहरलाल नेहरू on behalf of INC, Indian National Congress, declared that Constitution of Free India must be framed without outside interference by the Constituent Assembly elected on basis of adult franchise. उसके बाद अगस्त ऑफर 1940 में आया जिसमें ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट एक्सेप्टेड द डिमांड फॉर कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली. पर in 1942 Sir Stafford Cripps, a member of the cabinet, came to India with a draft proposal of the British government on the framing of an independent constitution to be adopted after World War II. Okay, the Cripps proposal were rejected by Muslim League, which wanted India to be divided into two autonomous states with two separate constituent assemblies. Finally, cabinet mission was sent to India. While it rejected the idea of two constituent assembly, it put forth a scheme for constituent assembly which more or less satisfied the Muslim League. Okay, अब इसमें अब जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली बन गई, कॉन्स्टिट्यूटेड हुई नवंबर 1946 में अंडर कैबिनेट मिशन प्लान, और उसमें आया ऑब्जेक्टिव रिजोल्यूशन. व्हाट इज ऑब्जेक्टिव रिजोल्यूशन, यू कैन आस्क. Okay, when they plan to make constitution, they decide what should be its objective. What is the objective of the Indian constitution? What is the philosophy of objective of the Indian constitution? The philosophy of objective of Indian constitution was objective resolution. And who passed this? Who passed the objective resolution? Uh, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in the first session of Constituent Assembly on the 13th December 1946 passed the objective resolution and adopted, which is adopted on 22nd January 1947. What was the main points of objective resolution? The main points of objective resolution was India to be independent, sovereign, democratic, republic, or and Indian province or other parts of India willing to be part of free and sovereign India collectively formed Union of India. मीन्स हमारा इंडिया कैसा होगा? इंडिपेंडेंट होगा, सॉवरेन होगा, डेमोक्रेटिक होगा और रिपब्लिक होगा। और इंडियन प्रोविंस और जो भी पार्ट जो कि इंडिया को जोड़ना चाहता है इन फ्री एंड सॉवरेन इंडिया को, वो लोग कलेक्टिवली यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया को फ्रेम करेंगे। Second point is India to be provide freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship, vocation, association, and action. Next, India to provide adequate safeguards for minorities and the people from backward and tribal area. There is no exploitation of minorities, backward or tribal people, but they will be provided safeguards. Who provide? Constitution of India provide. What provide? Safeguards for minorities and people from backward and tribal areas. Next, India to attain rightful and honor place in the world and make contribution to world peace and welfare of mankind. Okay. Next, there are two types. We can divide constitution types of constitution to two types, that is written and unwritten. Unwritten. What is written constitution? Indian constitution is a type of written constitution. What you can think that what is the characteristics of written constitution and what is the characteristics of unwritten constitution? यहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा डिफरेंस नहीं है, बट इन केस ऑफ रिटन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन यू कैन hold a book and can say that it is the constitution of India, but in case of unwritten constitution you can't. In in written constitution, articles and provisions are codified into single legal document, but in case of unwritten constitution these are not codified into single legal document. मीन्स आप वहाँ पे नहीं कह सकते हो कि ये बुक ही हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, बट यहाँ पे कह सकते हैं दिस इज आवर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया, जिसमें आर्टिकल, पार्ट्स और शेड्यूल्स मेंशन होते हैं. नेक्स्ट, in a written constitution, distinction is made between the provision of constitution and other laws. written constitution में दो तरह के laws रहते हैं, एक जो कि constitution में मेंशन है और उसको जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में मेंशन है उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए अदर लॉज भी होते हैं, जैसे कि MG नरेगा, दिस इज एक्ट और लॉ. नेक्स्ट, IPC इज ए लॉ which is going to implement the constitution of India, CRPC, etc, etc. Next, in unwritten constitution, each and every enactment of the parliament becomes part of their constitution. That is, there is no distinction between constitution and other law. Okay, हर enactment जो भी पार्लियामेंट में नीड के अनुसार जो भी enactment पास होता है वो सब लॉ बन जाते हैं. In case of written constitution, constitution is supreme and all other bodies are supported to follow it, including judiciary. In unwritten constitution, parliament is supreme because every enactment of parliament become the constitution, become the law, right? Next is written constitution, judiciary enjoys relatively more power, where it can declare an enactment of legislature or action of executive as unconstitutional and can nullify it. But in case of unwritten constitution, the judiciary cannot declare an enactment of the parliament as unconstitutional. कोई भी इंडिया में एक ऑल इंडिया जुडिशियल सर्विस बोल के लॉ आने वाला था, मतलब डिस्कशन पास हुआ था, पर जुडिशियरी उसे नल एंड वॉइड डिक्लेयर कर दिया ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दैट कि इट एक्सप्लॉइट्स द सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर. सो यहाँ पे जुडिशियरी कर सकता है, पर in case of unwritten constitution, judiciary can't. Which are the countries where written constitution are present? Example: India, Sri Lanka, USA, Australia, Japan. And unwritten constitution present in UK, New Zealand, Israel, Saudi Arabia, etc. Next, what is the date when Indian constitution enacted? The answer will be 26 November 1949. Second question, when was Indian constitution adopted? The answer is 26 November 1949. Next question, when was Indian constitution enforced? The answer is 26 January 1950. In case of written constitution is an enacted constitution, that is, it was made by a special body in a specific time. In case of India, it is Constituent Assembly from 1946 to 1949 made our constitution. But in case of unwritten constitution, it is evolved one as it is an outcome of effort of many bodies over a period of time. In case of written constitution, written constitution may be rigid or flexible or combination of both. But unwritten constitution is always flexible, because to change in constitution is to bring a new law. As new parliament enactment happen, new laws formed. So in case of unwritten constitution, it is always be flexible, but in case of written constitution, it can be rigid or flexible or combination of both. In case of India, it is combination of both. Next, in India is an example of federal country with written constitution. Japan is an example of unitary country with a written constitution. But in case of unwritten constitution, all countries are unitary. Means UK, New Zealand, Israel, Saudi Arabia, all are unitary country because it has unwritten constitution. Next concept is separation of power. What is the difference between separation of power versus division of power? Actually, there is no difference, but the context is different. In case of separation of power, there is separation of power, division or whatever it is, separation or division of power between executive, legislature and judiciary. But in case of division of power, there is a division of power between state and union. Okay, what the separation of the power concept was derived by the French philosopher Montesquieu, who gave the idea of separation power in which three organs of the state, which are the legislature, executive and judiciary, shall be separated into watertight compartments with an objective of ensuring or preventing the state from becoming totalitarian, and thus individual liberty can be safeguarded. यहाँ पे उस मोंटेस्क्यू के डेफिनेशन के अनुसार द सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर आर द वाटर टाइट, but in reality every country accept this power but with some modification. which is the first country to accept the concept of separation of power. America was the first country to apply this idea. India accepted the idea of separation of power in a modified form called the principles of checks and balances, where all the three organs of a state, that is legislature, executive and judiciary, exercises some form of control on each other. Means judiciary can decide executive and legislative activities as a wrong or right, and even put restriction on it, and vice versa is also possible. And control and all the three organs maintain a balance on each other actually, and impose restriction on each other. India follows parliamentary system of government where executive is a part of legislature when there is no watertight separation. Thus, pure separation of power is not exist. Supreme Court in 1996 declared that the theory of separation of power and the basic structure of the constitution is an integral part of Indian constitution, and thus both of them form the elements of basic structure of the constitution. We will discuss more about basic structure in the following classes. In next class, I will discuss about preamble. Okay, so bye. It is for today.